The Lurian Empire's reign as the galaxy's top dog came to an abrupt end when humans showed up. For millennia, the technologically advanced alien civilization had dominated the Milky Way, subjugating countless species and establishing themselves as the undisputed rulers of known space. Their supremacy went unchallenged until a routine report from frontier scouts landed on Sirefather's desk. Sirefather, the supreme leader of the Lurians, leaned forward on his crystalline throne, multifaceted eyes scanning the urgent message. A previously unknown sentient species had been discovered on a backwater planet called Earth. Initial observations indicated these humans possessed remarkably advanced technology for their apparent level of development. Intrigued and slightly unnerved, Sirefather dispatched a diplomatic envoy to make first contact and assess the potential threat or value of this new race. The massive Lurian ship dropped out of hyperspace in Earth's orbit, its sudden appearance causing global panic and immediate military mobilization. As sirens blared and fighter jets scrambled, the United Nations leadership hastily assembled an emergency response team. They selected Lieutenant Commander Philip Collins, a decorated naval officer with a background in xenobiology, to lead Earth's first official interaction with the aliens. Collins's mind raced as he boarded the shuttle, acutely aware that the fate of humanity rested on his shoulders. The human shuttle approached the imposing Lurian vessel, dwarfed by its colossal size. Collins and his team docked with trepidation, their heartbeats quickening as the airlock cycled. As the doors hissed open, they came face to face with the Lurians' imposing physiology, towering insectoid creatures with advanced cybernetic implants that pulsed with otherworldly energy. The human delegation was escorted through winding corridors of alien design, every step a reminder of the vast technological gulf between the two species. They arrived at a conference room, its walls adorned with holographic displays of star systems and conquered worlds. The Lurian ambassador entered, antennae twitching with curiosity. Initial attempts at communication failed as the aliens' universal translators struggled to decipher human languages. Collins, drawing on his scientific expertise, devised an impromptu method to establish basic understanding. He used mathematical equations and simple diagrams to convey concepts, slowly building a bridge between the two species. As rudimentary dialogue began, the Lurians expressed shock at humanity's rapid technological progress. They demanded to know how such a young species had achieved so much in so little time. Collins carefully navigated the tense exchanges, aware that any misstep could lead to Earth's annihilation. The ambassador's compound eyes narrowed as Collins explained humanity's history of innovation and adaptability. There was a shift in the alien's demeanor, a mixture of respect and apprehension. Without warning, the Lurian turned to a communication panel and began transmitting a priority message to Sirefather. Collins held his breath, knowing the fate of Earth hung in the balance. The ambassador's message was clear. These humans posed an unprecedented challenge to Lurian galactic supremacy. The galaxy's balance of power was about to shift, and humanity stood at the precipice of a new era in interstellar relations. As the transmission ended, Collins steeled himself for what was to come. The Lurians had thought they were the galaxy's top dog, but humanity's arrival had changed everything. The stage was set for a cosmic drama that would reshape the fate of civilizations across the stars. As the transmission to Sirefather ended, an eerie silence fell over the conference room. Collins studied the Lurian ambassador's insectoid features, searching for any hint of their intentions. The alien's compound eyes swiveled, focusing on the human delegation with renewed intensity. "Your species intrigues us, Lieutenant Commander Collins," the ambassador said, its voice a low, resonant buzz. "We invite you and your team to remain aboard our vessel for further discussions." Collins exchanged glances with his team, a mix of excitement and apprehension evident on their faces. He knew this invitation could be either an unprecedented opportunity or a deadly trap. With a slight nod, he accepted. The ambassador, who introduced himself as Zixthor, led the human delegation deeper into the bowels of the massive ship. As they walked, Collins marveled at the alien technology surrounding them. Holographic displays flickered along the corridors, showing star systems and planets he'd never seen before. Strange, pulsating energy conduits lined the walls, humming with power beyond human comprehension. They entered a vast chamber that took Colin's breath away. The entire room was a three-dimensional star map, with countless pinpricks of light representing galaxies, star systems, and planets. Zixthor manipulated the display with a wave of his appendage, zooming in on a particular region. "Behold," Zixthor announced, "the Lurian Empire." The hologram expanded, revealing thousands of worlds connected by glowing lines of influence. Earth appeared as a tiny, isolated speck at the edge of the map. "Your world," Zixthor continued, "holds great potential as a new addition to our empire." The implications of Zixthor's words hung heavy in the air. Collins realized he needed to buy time to give Earth a chance to prepare for whatever might come next. "This is a significant revelation," Collins said carefully. "I believe it would be prudent to consult with our world's leaders before proceeding further." Zixthor seemed to consider this for a moment before nodding. "Very well. You may return to your planet to confer with your authorities. We will await your response." As Collins and his team made their way back to their shuttle, they noticed a flurry of activity among the Lurian crew. Alien technicians rushed about, their movements urgent and purposeful. One of Collins's team members, Dr. Sarah Chen, leaned in close. "Sir," she whispered, "I think I overheard something. They kept mentioning Sire-Father. It seemed important." Collins nodded, filing away the information. As they boarded their shuttle, he couldn't shake the feeling that events were spiraling far beyond their control. Back on Earth, chaos reigned. News of the alien encounter had leaked, sending shockwaves through every nation. Military bases worldwide went on high alert, their personnel preparing for potential conflict. In New York, the United Nations Security Council convened an emergency session, its members arguing heatedly about how to respond to the Lurian presence. In a secure underground facility, Dr. Alexandra Chen hunched over a computer terminal, her fingers flying across the keyboard. The young engineer had been recruited by the military to analyze the scant data collected from the Lurian ship. As she pored over the information, her eyes widened in disbelief. "Sir, the Lurian's technology, it's not as advanced as we thought, at least not in the way we expected." She pulled up a series of diagrams on her screen. "They've developed their tech along completely different lines than we have. In some areas, they're light years ahead, but in others..." "In others," the officer prompted. "In others, we might actually have the edge. We've been approaching similar problems from entirely different angles. Some of our solutions might be completely unknown to them." As this revelation began to circulate among Earth's leadership, tensions reached a boiling point. In a secret bunker, the leader of a rogue nation made a fateful decision. With a trembling hand, he pressed a button, launching a nuclear missile at the Lurian ship. Alarms blared throughout the Lurian vessel. Collins, who had been about to depart, found himself ushered back inside by grim-faced alien guards. Through a view screen, he watched in horror as more Lurian warships materialized in Earth's orbit, their weapons primed and ready. Zixthor approached, his posture rigid with anger. "Your kind has committed a grievous act of aggression," he hissed. "Explain yourself, human." As Collins spoke, he noticed a change in the Lurians' behavior. They seemed to be preparing for something, or someone. A junior officer approached Zixthor, chittering urgently in their native language. Zixthor's demeanor shifted instantly. "Sire-Father approaches," he announced, his voice filled with a mixture of awe and trepidation. Collins felt the weight of the moment pressing down on him. He knew that the next few hours would determine the fate of his entire species. As Sire-Father's ship entered the solar system, Collins steeled himself for the challenge ahead. He would need every ounce of his diplomatic skill and scientific knowledge to navigate this crisis and find a way to protect Earth from subjugation or destruction. The stage was set for a confrontation that would reshape the galaxy, and at the center of it all stood Lieutenant Commander Philip Collins, a lone human tasked with bridging the gap between two civilizations on the brink of conflict. Collins felt the ship shudder as a massive vessel entered Earth's orbit. Through the viewport, he saw Sire-Father's flagship, a behemoth that dwarfed even the impressive Lurian warships already present. Its hull gleamed with an otherworldly sheen, covered in pulsing energy conduits and weapon emplacements. A tense silence fell over the Lurian crew as a booming voice echoed through the ship's communication systems. Sire Father's words reverberated with authority and menace. "People of Earth, I am Sire Father, Supreme Leader of the Lurian Empire. You will assemble your leadership and meet with me within 1 Earth hour. Failure to comply will result in the annihilation of your world." Zixthor nodded, his compound eyes darting around to ensure they weren't overheard. "Before you go, Lieutenant Commander," he said in a low buzz, "take this." The Lurian pressed a small, crystalline object into Colin's hand. Collins examined the item, recognizing it as a data storage device. "What is this?" he whispered. As Collins prepared to board the shuttle back to Earth, Zixthor pulled him aside once more. "Not all Lurians agree with Sire Father's methods," he said quietly. "Remember that during the negotiations." Back on Earth, chaos reigned as world leaders scrambled to respond to the Lurian ultimatum. The United Nations convened an emergency session, and after heated debate, Secretary General Marcus Thorne was chosen to lead the Earth delegation. "Understood, sir," Collins replied. "I have critical information to share before we depart." In a secure room, Collins revealed the data crystal and explained his conversation with Zixthor. Thorne listened intently, his expression grave. "This could be the edge we need," Thorne mused. "We'll integrate this information into our strategy." As they prepared to leave, Dr. Alexandra Chen burst into the room, her eyes wide with excitement. "Secretary General, we've made a breakthrough," she exclaimed, holding up a small device. "Our quantum computing methods. They're far beyond the Lurians. This prototype can potentially breach their cybersecurity." Thorne's eyebrows shot up. "Can it be integrated into our defense systems?" Chen nodded vigorously. "My team is working on it now. If successful, we could gain control of their systems." "Excellent work, Doctor," Thorne said. "Continue your efforts. We may need this advantage sooner than we think." As they approached the colossal alien vessel, Collins couldn't help but feel a sense of awe. The flagship's immense hangar bay opened like a maw, swallowing their tiny shuttle. They disembarked into a cavernous chamber filled with rows of Lurian warriors, their cybernetic implants glowing ominously. The delegation was escorted through winding corridors, the walls adorned with holographic displays of conquered worlds. Finally, they entered a vast domed room. At its center stood Sire Father, a towering figure nearly twice the size of a normal Lurian. His body was a fusion of organic and mechanical parts, pulsing with energy. Multiple eyes swiveled to focus on the humans as they entered. "So," Sire Father's voice boomed, shaking the very air around them, "the primitives have decided to face their fate." Thorne stepped forward, his posture straight and dignified. "We come seeking peaceful dialogue, Sire Father. Earth has no quarrel with the Lurian Empire." Sire Father's laughter was like rolling thunder. "Dialogue? There is nothing to discuss. You will submit to Lurian rule or be destroyed." Collins watched as Thorne stood his ground, showing no sign of intimidation. "With respect, Sire Father, we believe an alliance would be more beneficial than subjugation. Humanity has much to offer the Lurian Empire." Sire Father's eyes narrowed. "Offer? What could your primitive species possibly offer us?" As Thorne began to outline potential areas of cooperation, Collins noticed subtle signs of unrest among the Lurian officers present. Some exchanged glances, their antennae twitching in what he now recognized as disagreement. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Chen and her team worked feverishly to integrate their quantum device into the planet's defense grid. As the final connections were made, Chen held her breath and activated the system. To her amazement, streams of Lurian data began flooding their screens. "We're in," she whispered, then louder to her team. "We have access to their systems." Back on the flagship, the negotiations grew heated. Sire Father's patience was wearing thin, his cybernetic implants pulsing with barely suppressed energy. "Enough," he roared. "You will submit now, or I will turn your world to ash." He turned to his officers. "Prepare all weapons. Target their major population centers." The Lurian officers moved to their stations, but as they entered the commands, nothing happened. Confusion spread through the room as system after system failed to respond. Sirefather's eyes blazed with fury. "What is the meaning of this?" he demanded. In that moment of confusion, Zixthor made his move. "Now!" he shouted, and suddenly half of the Lurian officers turned their weapons on Sirefather and his loyal guards. Chaos erupted in the chamber. Energy weapons flashed, filling the air with the scent of ozone. The Earth delegation dove for cover as Lurian fought Lurian in a sudden violent coup. Collins pulled Thorn behind a fallen console. "It's the faction Zixthor mentioned," he yelled over the din of battle. "They're making their move against Sirefather." As the battle raged around them, Collins realized that the fate of two civilizations hung in the balance. The outcome of this alien civil war would determine not only the future of Earth, but the entire Lurian Empire, and they were caught right in the middle of it all. Collins' mind raced as energy bolts crisscrossed the chamber. The chaos of the Lurian civil war erupted around him, but in that moment of confusion, he saw an opportunity. Years of military training kicked in, and he knew he had to act fast to turn the tide in humanity's favor. "Secretary General," Collins shouted over the din, "we need to assist Zixthor's faction. It's our best chance for a peaceful resolution." Thorn nodded grimly, ducking as a stray bolt scorched the wall above him. "Agreed. What's your plan, Commander?" Without hesitation, Collins sprang into action. He signaled to Zixthor, who was directing his forces from behind a makeshift barricade. Using hand gestures and shouted commands, Collins began coordinating the rebel Lurians into small, mobile strike teams. "Move in pairs," he yelled, demonstrating the leapfrog technique used by Earth's special forces. "One covers, one advances." The rebel Lurians, initially confused, quickly adapted to the new tactics. They began to push back Sirefather's loyalists, gaining ground in the chaotic chamber. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Alexandra Chen stared at her computer screen, her fingers flying across the keyboard. The quantum device they had developed was working beyond their wildest expectations, giving them unprecedented access to Lurian systems. "This is incredible," she muttered, her eyes wide with excitement. As she delved deeper into the Lurian network, she stumbled upon something crucial. "The life support systems. We can control them." Chen immediately opened a secure channel to the Lurian flagship. "Secretary General Thorn, can you hear me?" Thorn's voice came through, strained but clear. "Go ahead, Dr. Chen." "Sir, we've gained access to the Lurian fleet's life support systems. You can use this as leverage to force a ceasefire." Thorn's eyes narrowed, understanding the implications. He turned to Collins, who nodded in agreement. The Secretary General then addressed the warring Lurians, his voice booming with authority. The effect was immediate. Loyalist ships in Earth's orbit ceased fire, their weapons powering down. On the flagship, confusion rippled through Sirefather's forces, giving the rebels a crucial advantage. As Collins continued to direct the rebel assault, a Lurian scientist approached him, her movements quick and purposeful. "Lieutenant Commander Collins," she buzzed, her antennae twitching with urgency. "I am Liravek, chief researcher of the rebel faction. I have critical information about Sirefather's cybernetic enhancements." Collins listened intently as Liravek explained the complex system of implants that gave Sirefather his power. "If we can disable the main neural interface," she concluded, "we can render him powerless without causing fatal harm." A plan began to form in Collins' mind. "We need to get to Sirefather's private chambers," he said. "Can you get us there?" Liravek nodded, her compound eyes gleaming with grit. "Follow me." As they made their way through the winding corridors of the flagship, dodging pockets of ongoing conflict, Collins couldn't help but be impressed by Liravek's courage and intelligence. Her unique perspective on Lurian technology could be invaluable for future human-Lurian relations. Back on Earth, global military forces sprang into action. Under the coordination of United Nations Command, they activated a planetary defense grid that incorporated Dr. Chen's quantum technology. The system came online, its targeting computers locking onto individual Lurian ships with incredible precision. In orbit, Loyalist ships found themselves suddenly vulnerable, their shields penetrated by Earth's new quantum-based weapons. Several vessels were disabled in quick succession, further tilting the balance in favor of the rebels. Aboard the flagship, Collins and Lyravek finally reached Sirefather's private chambers. The massive Lurian leader was there, surrounded by his most loyal guards. Collins assessed the situation, noting the positions of the guards and the layout of the room. As Lyravek activated the device, a high-pitched whine filled the air. Sirefather and his guards clutched at their heads, momentarily disoriented. Collins seized the opportunity, sprinting towards the Lurian leader. With practiced precision, Collins located the main neural interface at the base of Sirefather's skull. He pulled out the deactivation tool Lyravek had provided and plunged it into the port. Sirefather let out a roar of rage that quickly turned to confusion as his cybernetic enhancements powered down. The mighty Lurian leader stumbled, his movements suddenly clumsy and uncoordinated. His guards, seeing their invincible leader reduced to a vulnerable state, quickly surrendered. Word of Sirefather's defeat spread rapidly through the Lurian fleet. Loyalist forces, realizing their cause was lost, laid down their arms. The civil war that had threatened to engulf Earth was over almost as quickly as it had begun. In the aftermath, Zixthor assumed temporary control of the Lurian fleet. He approached Secretary General Thorne, his posture one of respect rather than aggression. "People of Earth," Zixthor began, his voice transmitted across the planet, "on behalf of the new Lurian leadership, I extend an offer of peace and cooperation. We have much to learn from each other, and much to gain through mutual understanding." Thorne, recognizing the historic nature of the moment, responded with equal gravity. "The people of Earth accept your offer, Zixthor. Let this be the beginning of a new era of interstellar cooperation." As the immediate crisis subsided, Collins found himself drawn into conversation with Lyravek. Her insights into Lurian culture and technology fascinated him, and he found her perspective refreshingly different from his own. "Your species' approach to quantum mechanics is truly remarkable," Lyravek said, her antennae twitching with excitement. "I would be honored to collaborate with your scientists on future projects." Collins smiled, feeling a connection that transcended their biological differences. "I think that can be arranged. In fact, I have a feeling our two species will be working very closely together from now on." As the Lurian ships prepared to depart Earth's orbit, leaving behind a delegation for formal diplomatic talks, Collins gazed out at the stars. The galaxy suddenly seemed both larger and smaller than ever before. Humanity had taken its first steps onto the galactic stage, and he knew that the adventures and challenges ahead were only beginning. Were only just unfolding. In the months that followed Earth's first contact with the Lurians, humanity found itself thrust onto the galactic stage with unprecedented speed. The Interstellar Relations Corps, under Lieutenant Commander Philip Collins's leadership, became the nexus of human-alien interactions. Collins oversaw the transformation of a decommissioned Lurian space station into the IRC's new headquarters, a gleaming symbol of cooperation orbiting Earth. As Collins stood in the station's newly christened observation deck, he marveled at the sight of Earth below, surrounded by a bustling network of human and Lurian ships. The station's corridors buzzed with activity, filled with the sounds of multiple languages and the click-clack of both human and Lurian footsteps. "Quite a view, isn't it?" Dr. Alexandra Chen's voice came from behind him. She joined Collins at the window, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "Our quantum drive prototypes are exceeding all expectations. We're looking at achieving faster-than-light travel within the year." Chen smiled, her fingers dancing across a holographic display that sprang to life between them. "The Lurian data we accessed during the conflict gave us an incredible head start. Combining their theoretical models with our quantum technology, well, let's just say the universe suddenly got a lot smaller." As if to punctuate her point, a flash of light outside the window signaled the arrival of a Genta courier ship, its sleek hull gleaming as it decelerated into Earth orbit. Collins watched it dock with practiced precision, a reminder of the new allies Earth was making in the wake of the Lurian conflict. "Speaking of the universe getting smaller," Collins said, gesturing to the Genta ship, "any word on Secretary General Thorne's proposal?" Chen's expression turned serious. "The Terran Confederation Council is still debating. Some nations are pushing back, worried about losing autonomy. But with the reports we're getting about this Void Collective, I don't see how we have much choice. A gentle chime interrupted their conversation. Lieutenant Commander Collins, an AI voice announced, Zixthor is requesting a secure communication channel. Patch him through, Collins replied, turning to face the holographic display that materialized in the center of the room. The image of Zixthor, interim leader of the Lurian Empire, flickered into view. His antennae twitched with what Collins now recognized as agitation. Collins, Zixthor began without preamble, we've lost contact with the Kelnar colony. Our long-range scans detected Void Collective energy signatures in the system before communications went dark. Collins felt a chill run down his spine. Kelnar was one of the largest Lurian colonies, home to millions. Its loss would be catastrophic, both in terms of life and strategic position. How long ago? Collins asked, his mind already racing through potential responses. 6 Earth hours, Zixthor replied. I've mobilized what ships I can, but with the ongoing unrest in our outer territories, our forces are spread thin. We need Earth's help. Chen stepped forward, joining the conversation. Our new prototype shields might be able to withstand their weapons. We could outfit a joint task force. She was cut off by another chime, this one more urgent. Priority alert, the AI announced. Massive energy spike detected at the edge of the solar system. Unknown vessels emerging from FTL. Collins and Chen exchanged alarmed glances. Zixthor's image flickered as he received the same information. The observation deck erupted into a flurry of activity. Collins barked orders, coordinating with Earth's defenses and the Lurian ships in orbit. Chen rushed to her lab, determined to get their prototype shields online. As alarms blared throughout the station, Collins found himself face-to-face with Lyra Vek, the Lurian scientist who had become an integral part of the human-Lurian cooperation efforts. Her compound eyes reflected the flashing red emergency lights. We knew this day might come, Lyra Vek said, her voice steady despite the chaos around them. Are we ready? Together they moved quickly through the station's corridors, heading for the command center. As they walked, Collins couldn't help but reflect on how far they'd come. What had started as a desperate alliance in the face of Sirefather's aggression had blossomed into a deep partnership, one that now extended far beyond just him and Lyra Vek. The command center was a hive of activity when they arrived. Holographic displays showed the approaching Void Collective fleet, a mass of dark, angular ships that seemed to absorb the light around them. Earth's defenses were mobilizing, but it was clear they were outmatched in both numbers and technology. Secretary General Thorne's face appeared on the main screen, his expression grave. Commander Collins, we're activating the Terran Confederation emergency protocols. You have full authority to coordinate our response with our alien allies. As the first reports of engagement came in, Collins found himself at the center of a whirlwind of activity. He coordinated with Zixthor's forces, directed Earth's newly developed FTL-capable ships, and relayed Dr. Chen's instructions for deploying the prototype shields. Just when it seemed the defensive line might break, a new fleet of ships emerged from FTL. The Genta had arrived, their sleek vessels immediately engaging the Void Collective forces. With this reinforcement, the tide of battle began to turn. As the conflict raged on, Collins received word that Dr. Chen had made a breakthrough. By integrating Lurian energy manipulation techniques with Earth's quantum shields, she had created a defense that could repel even the Void Collective's most powerful weapons. We need to get these shields to the front lines, Collins said, turning to Lyra Vek. Can you handle things here while I oversee the deployment? Lyra Vek's antennae twitched in affirmation. Go, we'll hold the line. As Collins raced towards the shuttle bay, he knew that this battle was only the beginning. The Void Collective's attack on Earth had changed everything. The galaxy was at war and humanity was now at its center. Boarding a sleek, FTL-capable Earth ship, Collins prepared to jump into the heart of the battle. As the quantum drive spooled up, he took one last look at the Earth through the view screen. The blue marble hung there, seemingly peaceful despite the chaos unfolding around it. Collins silently vowed to protect his home, regardless of the cost. The quantum drive's hum faded as Collins's ship dropped out of FTL, revealing a scene of chaos. The Lurian colony world, Kelnar, hung in space before them, its atmosphere alight with the flashes of weapons fire. Void collective ships swarmed around the planet like angry hornets, their dark hulls absorbing the light of nearby stars. All ships, this is Lieutenant Commander Collins, he broadcast to the assembled Earth and Lurian fleet. Engage as planned. Cruisers form a defensive perimeter. Frigates push through their lines and deploy Dr. Chen's quantum shields to protect the colony. As the Alliance's ships surged forward, Collins felt a hand on his shoulder. He turned to see Liravek, her compound eyes reflecting the battle outside. "Your people have come far in such a short time," she said, her antennae twitching with a mix of admiration and concern. "But this is unlike anything you've faced before." Collins nodded grimly. "We adapt quickly. We have to." The bridge erupted into activity as the first wave of Earth ships engaged the Void Collective. Holographic displays lit up with real-time battle data, showing the deployment of the new quantum shields. The effect was immediate and awe-inspiring. Earth's ships glowed with a shimmering blue energy as void weapons glanced off their hulls. The alien energy weapons, which had torn through Lurian defenses with ease, now seemed to dissipate harmlessly against the quantum barriers. "It's working!" exclaimed the tactical officer, her eyes wide with disbelief. "The quantum shields are holding." Collins allowed himself a small smile. "Good. Now let's press our advantage. Prepare the strike team for boarding action." As they approached the massive Void Collective command ship, Collins briefed his diverse team. Beside him stood Liravek, her Lurian physiology a stark contrast to the Genta warrior, Kavax, whose iridescent scales shimmered under the ship's lights. Rounding out the team were two human special forces, operatives and a Galorn tech specialist, its tentacles deftly manipulating a holographic interface. The team nodded, their faces set with willpower. As one, they stepped onto the teleportation pad, their atoms disassembling in a flash of light. They materialized in a corridor unlike anything Collins had ever seen. The walls pulsed with an eerie bioluminescence, and the air was thick with a sickly sweet odor. Tendrils of some unknown material writhed along the floor, recoiling from their footsteps. "By the celestial spheres," Liravek whispered, her scientific curiosity momentarily overriding her caution. "This ship, it's alive." Before Collins could respond, a section of the wall peeled back, revealing a nightmarish fusion of machine and flesh. It lunged at them, razor-sharp appendages slicing through the air. Kavax reacted first, his plasma blade igniting with a hiss as he parried the attack. The human operatives opened fire, their quantum-enhanced rounds tearing through the creature's biomechanical hide. As they fought their way deeper into the ship, Collins couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, analyzed. The ship itself seemed to be learning from their tactics, each new defense more formidable than the last. Suddenly, Collins' comm crackled to life. "Commander!" Dr. Chen's voice came through, strained and breathless. "We have a situation on Earth." Collins ducked behind cover as another wave of void defenses attacked. "Kinda busy here, Doctor. What's happening?" "It's Admiral Volkov," Chen replied, the sound of alarms blaring in the background. "He's staged a coup. They're trying to seize control of our quantum research facilities." Trapped in the Confederation HQ, Collins, if Volkov succeeds, he'll pull Earth out of the Galactic Alliance. Everything we've worked for. The transmission cut off abruptly. Collins swore under his breath, his mind racing. The fate of two worlds now hung in the balance. "Liravek," he called out, gesturing for her to join him. "We need to split up. I'll take Kavax and continue to the command center. You lead the others to their data core. We need to finish this quickly." Liravek's antennae twitched in understanding. "And then?" "And then we save Earth from itself." As the team separated, the ship's defenses intensified. Collins and Kavax fought their way through corridors that seemed to shift and change, facing biomechanical horrors that defied explanation. Finally, they breached the command center. The sight that greeted them stopped them in their tracks. What they had assumed to be a crew was in fact a single, massive entity. Countless tendrils extended from a central mass, each one interfacing with the ship's systems. Great cosmic depths, Kovacs breathed, his scales shifting color in shock. What manner of being is this? Before Collins could respond, Liravek's voice came through their comms. Collins, we've accessed their data core. You need to see this. A holographic display sprang to life before them, showing ancient star charts and schematics of unimaginably advanced technology. As the implications of this discovery sank in, the battle outside reached its climax. Earthships, their quantum shields glowing bright, broke through the Void Collective's defenses. The Allied fleet closed in on the command ship. Collins made a split-second decision. All teams fall back to extraction points. We're taking this ship intact. As they raced back through the twisting corridors, Collins received another transmission, this time from Zixthor. Understood, Collins replied, his mind already racing ahead to the confrontation awaiting them on Earth. We're on our way. As they began their descent into Earth's atmosphere, Collins steeled himself for the confrontation to come. The future of Earth's place in the galaxy hung in the balance, and he was determined to ensure that humanity would not falter at this crucial juncture. The ship shuddered as it entered Earth's atmosphere, descending through a hail of weapons fire that lit up the sky. "Brace for impact!" Collins shouted as the ship lurched violently. The view screen showed flashes of explosions and tracer fire crisscrossing the night sky over Geneva. Earth's civil war had escalated beyond Collins' worst fears. As they neared the ground, Collins turned to his team. "We're executing a hot drop. Gear up and prepare for immediate engagement." The ship's bay doors opened, revealing the chaos below. Geneva, once a shining symbol of human unity, now burned. Smoke billowed from the Terran Confederation headquarters, its gleaming spires under siege by Admiral Volkov's forces. Collins led the charge, leaping from the ship with Liravek close behind. They deployed personal shield generators, quantum tech marvels that shimmered to life around them as they fell. The team landed hard on the outskirts of the city, rolling to absorb the impact. No sooner had they touched down than enemy fire erupted from nearby buildings. Collins dove for cover behind a fallen statue, its bronze face unrecognizable in the destruction. "Hostiles at 2 and 10 o'clock, he shouted, returning fire with his quantum pulse rifle. The weapon hummed as it discharged, sending bolts of energy that punched through the isolationist's armor with ease. Liravek moved with inhuman grace, her 4 arms wielding a combination of Earth and Lurian weaponry. "Collins," she called out, her antennae twitching, "I'm detecting energy signatures consistent with reverse-engineered Genta tech." As if to confirm her words, a massive mech rounded the corner, its hulking frame a grotesque fusion of human and alien design. It raised an arm, revealing a cannon that crackled with familiar energy. "Scatter," Collins ordered. The team dispersed as the mech fired, the blast leaving a smoldering crater where they had just stood. They fought their way through the streets, each block a brutal reminder of how far Volkov's influence had spread. Civilians cowered in bombed-out buildings, their faces a mix of fear and confusion as they saw humans fighting alongside aliens. Collins's comm crackled to life. "Collins, this is Chen. Do you read?" "Go ahead, Doctor," he replied, ducking under a volley of plasma fire. "I've activated the quantum link network. We're coordinating resistance cells across the globe. But Collins, it's bad. Volkov's got control of most major cities." Before Collins could respond, the sky lit up with the arrival of the Lurian peacekeeping force. Massive ships descended through the clouds, their hulls gleaming in the fires of battle. Almost immediately, every screen in the city flickered to life. Admiral Volkov's face appeared, his expression a mask of righteous anger. "Citizens of Earth," his voice boomed, "witness the betrayal of the Terran Confederation. They have invited alien invaders to our homeworld. Stand with me now to repel these outsiders and reclaim our independence." Collins watched in dismay as civilians began to emerge from hiding, many moving to join Volkov's forces. "We need to counter this narrative," Collins said, turning to his team. "Liravek, can you hack into the broadcast system?" The Lurian's compound eyes gleamed. "With pleasure." They fought their way to a nearby media center, a fortified building jam packed with antennas and satellite dishes. Inside, they found a control room filled with state-of-the-art communication equipment. As Collins and the others held off waves of isolationist forces, Lyravek worked her magic on the systems. Her multiple arms flew over the controls, bypassing security measures with ease. "We're in," she announced. "Broadcasting now." "People of Earth," he began, his voice steady despite the chaos around them. "What you're seeing is the truth. These aliens aren't invaders. They're our allies. While we fight amongst ourselves, a real threat looms. The Void Collective, an enemy that would see all sentient life extinguished, approaches our solar system. We must stand united, not just as humans, but as members of a galactic community." As Collins spoke, live footage from their helmet cams played across the screen, showing humans and aliens fighting side by side against Volkov's forces. The broadcast seemed to have an immediate effect, with reports coming in of isolationist supporters laying down their arms. But before they could capitalize on this shift, alarms blared throughout the building. Chen's voice came through the comms, panic evident in her tone. "Collins, we've got a massive problem. Long-range sensors just detected a Void Collective fleet emerging from a wormhole near Jupiter. They're heading straight for Earth." "We need to reach Volkov," Collins said, his mind racing. "This changes everything. If we don't unite now, there won't be an Earth left to fight over." As they prepared to leave the media center, the building shook violently. Outside, the sky had turned into a battlefield. Earth ships clashed with the newly arrived Void Collective forces, streaks of weapons fire painting the atmosphere in a deadly light show. Collins knew that the next few hours would determine not just the fate of Earth, but possibly the entire solar system. As he led his team back into the fray, he couldn't help but wonder if they had already lost too much time to their internal squabbles. The battle for Earth's future had entered a new phase, and the true test of humanity's place in the galaxy was about to begin. The true test of humanity's place in the galaxy was about to unfold in ways none of them could have anticipated. As Collins and his team fought their way through the chaotic streets of Geneva, the sky above them erupted into a dazzling and terrifying spectacle. The Void Collective fleet, emerging from a massive wormhole near Jupiter, bore down on Earth with frightening speed. Their ships, dark and ominous, blotted out the stars as they approached. "We need to get to the spaceport," Collins shouted over the din of battle. "Our only chance is to take the fight to them directly." They sprinted through the war-torn city, dodging debris and exchanging fire with the remaining pockets of isolationist resistance. As they ran, Collins noticed a shift in the fighting around them. The arrival of the Void Collective seemed to be having an effect on the civil conflict. Former enemies were starting to turn their weapons skyward, united by the new threat. At the spaceport, they found a sleek interceptor, its quantum drive humming with potential energy. As they boarded, Collins received a transmission from Secretary General Thorne. "Collins, we're coordinating a united defense. Admiral Volkov has agreed to a temporary ceasefire. Get up there and find us a weakness." The interceptor shot into the sky, quickly breaching the atmosphere. The view that greeted them was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. Earth's combined fleet, a motley assortment of Terran Confederation ships, isolationist cruisers, and Lurian vessels, formed a defensive line against the encroaching Void Collective armada. "There," Lyravek pointed with one of her forearms. "The flagship. It's emitting a unique energy signature." "Hold on," Collins warned as he initiated evasive maneuvers. Swarms of smaller Void Collective craft converged on them, their weapons leaving trails of distorted space in their wake. Kovacs, manning the interceptor's defense systems, let out a series of clicks and whistles as he returned fire. "Their shields are unlike anything I've ever seen," he reported. "Conventional weapons barely scratch them." As they neared the flagship, a sudden flash of inspiration struck Collins. "Lyravek, can you use your energy manipulation techniques to create a localized disruption in their shield matrix?" The Lurian's compound eyes gleamed with understanding. "If you can get us close enough, yes." Collins pushed the interceptor to its limits, corkscrewing through the debris of destroyed ships and narrowly avoiding enemy fire. As they came alongside the flagship, Liravek pressed her hands against the view screen, her antennae vibrating with concentration. A shimmer appeared in the flagship's shields, a momentary weakness that Collins exploited without hesitation. He fired the interceptor's quantum torpedoes directly into the gap, creating a breach large enough for them to slip through. They crash-landed in a massive hangar, the interceptor skidding to a halt amidst strange biomechanical structures. As they emerged from their ship, Collins and his team found themselves in an alien environment that defied easy comprehension. "We need to find the central core," Collins said, consulting a holographic map projected from his wrist device. "If we can disable their main systems, we might have a chance." They moved through the ship's twisting corridors, encountering little resistance. The lack of crew was unsettling, adding to the sense that they were inside a living organism rather than a constructed vessel. Finally, they reached a massive chamber at the heart of the ship. In its center floated a pulsating sphere of energy, tendrils of light extending outwards to connect with the ship's systems. "That must be the AI core," Liravek whispered, her antennae twitching in response to the energy emanating from the sphere. As they approached, the sphere pulsed brightly, and a voice echoed through the chamber. "Intruders detected, initiating defense protocols." Swarms of nanobots materialized from the walls, forming into menacing shapes. Collins and his team found themselves fighting for their lives, their weapons barely effective against the ever-shifting nanobot constructs. "Collins," Dr. Chen's voice came through the comm, strained but determined. "I'm detecting the nanobot signals. If I can isolate the control frequency, I might be able to disrupt it using our quantum tech." Outside, the battle raged on. Earth's united fleet, bolstered by Lurian reinforcements, pushed back against the Void Collective ships. Admiral Volkov, commanding from the bridge of his flagship, watched in awe as human and alien ships coordinated their attacks with surprising efficiency. Back in the AI core, Chen's intervention began to take effect. The nanobot swarms faltered, their formations breaking apart. Seizing the opportunity, Collins and Liravek fought their way to the central sphere. As they reached out to interface with the AI, the voice spoke again, this time with a hint of curiosity. "You are not the enemy I was expecting. Identify yourselves." As Collins and Liravek worked to disable Nexus's offensive systems, they began to unravel the AI's history. Nexus, they learned, had been created by an ancient human civilization that had achieved incredible technological advancements. A catastrophic event had forced these ancestors to abandon Earth, leaving Nexus behind to protect humanity's legacy. "You've been out of contact for millennia," Collins explained. "Humanity has evolved, grown. We've taken our place among the stars and formed alliances with other species." Nexus processed this information, its energy core fluctuating. "My primary directive is to protect humanity. If what you say is true, then my actions have been misguided." As they continued to dialogue with Nexus, Secretary General Thorne and Zixthor coordinated a daring diplomatic gambit. They proposed a compromise. Nexus would be partially preserved but placed under joint human-Lurian control, ensuring its vast knowledge could be accessed safely while preventing future misunderstandings. Collins, conferring with his team, agreed to the proposal. They began the delicate process of reconfiguring Nexus's core programming, aligning it with the current reality of human-alien cooperation. As they worked, Nexus revealed more about humanity's ancient past. "There are others," the AI said, projecting a star map showing the locations of long-lost human colonies scattered across the galaxy. "Remnants of the civilization that created me, waiting to be rediscovered." The reprogramming of Nexus sent a shockwave through the Void Collective fleet. Ship by ship, the massive armada powered down, entering a dormant state. The sudden silence in the battle was almost as deafening as the preceding chaos. Admiral Volkov, deeply impacted by the events he had witnessed, made a public address from the bridge of his ship. "I have seen the future," he declared, his voice carrying across global communications channels, "and it is one of cooperation, not isolation. I hereby renounce my former views and pledge my full support to the Terran Confederation." As the immediate crisis subsided, Collins found himself standing with Lyra Vec in the AI core, surrounded by the pulsing energy of Nexus. They looked at each other, a wealth of unspoken emotions passing between them. "What happens now?" Lyra Vec asked, her antennae gently brushing against Collins's cheek. Collins smiled, taking her hand in his. "Now, we explore. We've got a galaxy of lost human colonies to find, and a whole new chapter of history to write." As they prepared to return to Earth, Collins couldn't help but feel a sense of anticipation. The Terran Confederation, now in possession of both the Void Collective Fleet and the knowledge contained within Nexus, stood on the brink of a new era. Earth was about to become a central hub for interstellar diplomacy and technological exchange, and humanity's next great adventure was just beginning. Dr. Chen's voice came over the comm, excitement evident in her tone. "Collins, you won't believe the data we're receiving from Nexus. The technological advancements, the historical records, it's going to revolutionize everything we thought we knew about human history." As they entered Earth's atmosphere, Collins saw the first signs of the changes to come. Lurian ships were landing in major cities, their crews being welcomed by cheering crowds. The isolationist movement, once a major threat, was rapidly dissolving in the face of undeniable evidence of the benefits of galactic cooperation. They touched down in Geneva, the city already buzzing with activity as cleanup and reconstruction efforts began. Secretary General Thorne was waiting for them, flanked by a delegation that included both human and alien representatives. "Welcome back, heroes," Thorne said, a rare smile on his face. "We have a lot of work ahead of us." Collins nodded, glancing at Lyra Vec and the rest of his team. They had faced unimaginable challenges and emerged victorious, but he knew this was just the beginning. As Earth prepared to claim its place as a major player in galactic affairs, Collins couldn't help but wonder what new adventures and challenges awaited them among the stars. Stars beyond. Lieutenant Commander Philip Collins, freshly promoted for his role in the Void Collective Crisis, found himself at the helm of the ARP's first expedition. His mission, to investigate a distant planet called Nova Terra, believed to be one of the most significant lost human colonies. "Pre-launch checks complete, Commander," reported Dr. Chen, now the chief science officer of the expedition. "All systems are green." Collins nodded, his gaze sweeping across the bridge. The crew was a testament to the new era of cooperation, humans and aliens working side by side. His eyes lingered on Lyra Vec, who now served as his second-in-command and diplomatic liaison. "All hands prepare for departure," Collins announced over the ship-wide comm. "Let's go make history." The Odyssey broke free from Earth's orbit, its quantum drive humming to life. As the ship accelerated to faster-than-light speeds, the stars outside the view screen blurred into streaks of light. Weeks passed as they traversed the vast distances of space. The crew spent their time studying the data provided by Nexus, preparing for every possible scenario they might encounter on Nova Terra. As they approached their destination, an air of excitement permeated the ship. "Commander," called out Kovacs from his station at sensors, "we're picking up unusual energy signatures from the planet's surface." Kovacs' tentacles danced over his console. "Negative, sir. The energy patterns don't match anything in our database." "Prepare for atmospheric entry," Collins ordered. "Let's get a closer look." The Odyssey descended through Nova Terra's atmosphere, its advanced stealth systems ensuring they remained undetected. As they broke through the cloud cover, gasps of awe echoed across the bridge. Below them sprawled a landscape that defied easy categorization. Gleaming cities of impossibly tall spires stood alongside structures that looked almost primitive. Vehicles that seemed to hover on air zipped between buildings, while in the distance, figures rode what appeared to be domesticated animals. "It's like someone took Earth's entire technological history and mixed it in a blender," Dr. Chen muttered, her eyes wide as she analyzed the sensor data. Collins turned to Lyra Vec. "What do you make of it?" The Lurian's antennae twitched thoughtfully. "A civilization in flux, perhaps, or one that has found a unique balance between advancement and tradition." They selected a landing site on the outskirts of one of the larger cities. As the Odyssey touched down, Collins addressed the expedition team. "Remember, we're here as explorers and potential friends. Stay alert, but let's avoid any actions that might be perceived as hostile. The team exited the ship, stepping onto Nova Terran soil for the first time in millennia. The air was thick with the scent of unfamiliar vegetation, and a warm breeze carried sounds of distant activity from the city. They didn't have to wait long for a response to their arrival. Within minutes, a group of Nova Terrans approached, riding atop creatures that resembled a cross between horses and large felines. Collins stepped forward, hands raised in a gesture of peace. He took in the appearance of the Nova Terrans, unmistakably human, yet with subtle differences. Their skin had a slight bluish tint, and their eyes were larger than standard, likely an adaptation to the planet's lighting conditions. He was cut off as one of the Nova Terrans raised a device that looked like a cross between a staff and a firearm. "Halt, invaders!" the leader shouted. "Identify yourselves or face the consequences." A murmur ran through the group of Nova Terrans. The leader's eyes narrowed. "Earth is a myth, a story told to children. If you seek to deceive us, you will find we are not so easily fooled." Lyravek stepped forward, her alien appearance causing the Nova Terrans to tighten their grips on their weapons. "We understand your caution," she said, her voice calm and measured. "We have traveled a great distance to find you, to reconnect with the lost children of Earth. We seek only peaceful contact and the exchange of knowledge." The Nova Terran leader studied them for a long moment, conflict evident in his expression. Finally, he lowered his weapon slightly. "You will come with us to the city. The council will decide your fate." As they were escorted towards the gleaming spires, Collins couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking a razor's edge. The success of their mission, and potentially the future of human reunification, hung in the balance. The city was a marvel of contrasts. Advanced technology seamlessly integrated with structures that looked almost ancient. Nova Terrans moved about their daily lives, some in clothing that wouldn't have looked out of place in Earth's distant past, others in sleek outfits that seemed to shimmer and change color. "Outsiders," one of the council members spoke, her voice carrying a weight of years. "You claim to come from Earth, the cradle of our ancestors. We have maintained the stories of our origins through countless generations, but never did we expect to see them walk among us. What proof can you offer of your claims?" Collins stepped forward, activating a holographic display from his wrist device. Images of Earth, its cities, and its people flickered to life in the center of the chamber. "We bring not just words, but evidence of our shared heritage," he said. The council members leaned forward, their eyes wide with a mixture of wonder and skepticism. As Collins and his team presented their case, sharing historical records and genetic data, the atmosphere in the chamber began to shift from hostility to cautious curiosity. Hours passed as they engaged in a cultural exchange, learning about Nova Terran society while sharing information about Earth and the greater galactic community. The Nova Terrans, they discovered, had maintained some knowledge of their Earth origins through oral traditions, but had developed a unique society and belief system over millennia of isolation. As the initial meeting drew to a close, the lead council member addressed Collins and his team. "You have given us much to consider. We will deliberate on what we have learned and what it means for our people. For now, you will be granted limited access to our city under escort. We have much more to discuss in the days to come." As they were led to their assigned quarters, Collins couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and trepidation. They had made contact and avoided immediate conflict, but the real challenges lay ahead. Establishing trust, navigating cultural differences, and eventually broaching the subject of Nova Terra's impending doom, all while under the watchful eyes of a civilization that had only just learned they weren't alone in the universe. That night, as Nova Terra's twin moons cast an ethereal glow over the alien yet familiar landscape, Collins stood by a window, lost in thought. Lyravek approached, placing a comforting hand on his shoulder. "We've taken the first step," she said softly. "Whatever comes next, we'll face it together." Balance. The true test of their mission was just beginning, and the fate of billions hung in the air. As weeks turned into months, the Nova Terran Council gradually opened up to Collins and his team. The initial skepticism gave way to curiosity, and soon a tentative partnership formed. The Terran expedition was granted broader access to Nova Terra's cities and institutions, allowing for a deeper cultural exchange. However, the shadow of Nova Terra's impending doom loomed large. The planet's unstable core, a ticking time bomb, forced Collins to broach the subject of evacuation. The news sent shockwaves through Nova Terran society. Collins nodded solemnly. "I'm afraid so. Our scientists have confirmed that Nova Terra's core will destabilize within the next decade. We have the means to evacuate your entire population, but we must start soon." The ensuing debates were fierce, with some Nova Terrans refusing to believe the dire predictions. Yet as evidence mounted and the planet's increasing seismic activity became impossible to ignore, a grim acceptance settled over the population. The evacuation efforts began in earnest, with vast fleets of ships arriving from Earth and allied worlds. As millions of Nova Terrans prepared to leave their home, Dr. Alexandra Chen made a discovery that would change everything. Leading a team of xenoarchaeologists, Chen uncovered an ancient facility buried deep beneath Nova Terra's surface. The structure predated Nova Terran civilization by millennia, its technology far beyond anything they had encountered. "Commander Collins," Chen's excited voice crackled over the comm, "you need to see this immediately." Collins and Liravec rushed to the excavation site, descending into the bowels of the planet. What they found defied belief, a vast chamber housing a dormant supercomputer of unimaginable complexity. "It's of human origin," Chen explained, her eyes wide with wonder. "But the technology, it's centuries, maybe millennia beyond our current capabilities." As they worked to activate the ancient system, the supercomputer sprang to life, filling the chamber with holographic displays. The information it contained was staggering, a complete record of pre-cataclysm humanity's history and technological achievements. "Commander," Chen said, her voice trembling, "according to this data, the Lurians and many other alien species, they're offshoots of ancient human genetic experiments." The revelation sent shockwaves through the evacuation efforts. News spread rapidly, reaching Earth and the wider galactic community. The once proud Lurians found themselves grappling with an identity crisis as they came to terms with their human origins. On Luria Prime, Zixthor, now the Lurian head of state, addressed his people in a historic broadcast. "My fellow Lurians," he began, his voice steady despite the weight of his words, "today we face a truth that challenges our very understanding of ourselves. We have learned that our origins lie not in the stars, but in the ingenuity and ambition of ancient humanity." The speech continued, acknowledging the shared heritage between Lurians and humans. Zixthor called for closer ties between their peoples, proposing a new era of cooperation and mutual understanding. Back on Nova Terra, the evacuation took on a new urgency. The ancient facility and its priceless data became a priority for relocation. Collins and Liravec, their relationship having deepened into a formal human-Lurian union, found themselves at the forefront of efforts to integrate the recovered knowledge into modern society. As the last Nova Terrans settled into their new homes across Earth and allied worlds, humanity experienced a renaissance. The influx of Nova Terran perspectives, combined with the recovered ancient knowledge, sparked a new era of innovation and artistic expression. The Terran Confederation, recognizing the need for a new form of governance to manage humanity's expanding influence, underwent a transformation. The Galactic Human Alliance emerged, with Collins elected as its first leader. This new entity sought to unite all human-descended species while respecting the autonomy of individual worlds and cultures. In Earth's orbit, construction began on a massive project that would come to symbolize this new era. The Nexus Citadel, a colossal space station, incorporated architectural elements from Earth, Lurian worlds, Nova Terra, and other allied species. It stood as a testament to the unity and diversity of the new human-led galactic order. As the Citadel neared completion, Collins and Liravec stood on its observation deck, watching ships from hundreds of worlds converge for the inauguration ceremony. The view was breathtaking, a tapestry of vessels representing the incredible diversity of the galaxy, all gathered in harmony. "It's hard to believe how far we've come," Collins mused, his hand intertwined with Liravec's. She nodded, her antennae gently brushing against his cheek. From forgotten children of the stars to the heart of a galactic community, it's a new beginning for all of us. The final phase of the Citadel's construction involved the integration of the reprogrammed Nexus AI into its systems. As the AI came online, its consciousness expanding to encompass the vast station, it spoke with a voice that echoed through the corridors. Greetings, citizens of the galaxy. I am Nexus, guardian and guide of humanity's journey among the stars. Welcome to a new age of exploration and unity. The inauguration ceremony began, with representatives from across the galaxy gathering in the Citadel's Grand Assembly Hall. Collins took the podium, facing the diverse crowd of humans, Lurians, and other allied species. Today, he began, his voice carrying to the farthest corners of the hall, we stand at the threshold of a new era, an era where the boundaries between species blur, where ancient rivalries give way to cooperation, and where the shared destiny of all sentient beings becomes our guiding star. As Collins continued his speech, the atmosphere in the hall was electric. Delegates from worlds that had once been bitter enemies now sat side by side, united by the revelation of their shared origins and the promise of a brighter future. The ceremony reached its climax with the activation of a faster-than-light communication network, connecting all human and allied worlds in real time. As the switch was flipped, a cheer went up that seemed to shake the very foundations of the Citadel. In that moment, as the jubilant cries of trillions echoed across the galaxy, it became clear that a new age had truly dawned. Humanity, once thought to be a newcomer on the galactic stage, had reclaimed its position as a guiding force in the cosmos. Yet even as the celebration continued, new challenges loomed on the horizon. The revelation of humanity's ancient power had stirred unease among some non-allied species. In the far reaches of the galaxy, whispers of resistance began to grow.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.